Connie. I'm an AmeriCorps member with Beardsley Farm, and I'm going to be talking to you today about what to plant in the fall. So we'll cover the basics of planting in the fall, what kind of things you can plant, when you can plant them, and I'll show you a little bit about how to transplant. So first we want to talk about our basics for planting. So we want even ground, that's to help minimize soil erosion and also to make sure that water is absorbed evenly. We also want to look at the kind of soil we have, and in Tennessee we tend to have clay-rich soil, so you want to make sure you amend it with something like compost before you start planting. Light is also important. Most of what I'm going to be talking about here are vegetables that we're growing, and they like full sun, which is 6+ hours. You can also work with partial sun, which is 3 to 5 hours, but full sun is ideal. You can do that. And then the last thing is water. In the fall, it tends to rain a little bit less, so you want to make sure that you're watering really evenly, especially when you first plant your baby plants. So let's talk about what to plant in the fall. You can do leafy greens, so we have some growing in this bed, and that includes collards, arugula, kale, spinach, even some lettuces. And then you also have all your root vegetables for fall. So we're growing carrots over here. You can see the carrot tops coming up. You can also do parsnips, sweet potatoes, rutabagas, turnips. Root vegetables are great. You can eat both the root and the green. And then brassicas. So here I have some seeds for cabbage, broccoli. You can also do cauliflower. Those grow really great in the cooler temperatures. And even peas are all right. You can plant peas in the fall as well as the spring. And then the last ones are onions and garlic. These are alliums, and we want to wait a little bit longer to plant the alliums than all the rest of the vegetables, but we'll talk about that next. So some vegetables are really great to plant in the fall because they actually need that first frost to become the best versions of themselves. So one example of that is carrots. Carrots need to go through a light frost to really sweeten up, and you'll have the sweetest vegetable that you can if you wait until after that first frost to pick them. So when you want to plant is based on the last frost date in your region. So in Knoxville, the average last frost is October 22nd. So we use that here to determine when we want to plant things. It varies a little bit year to year, but you can have a good general idea. So you take the last frost date and you can add about 10 days to it for when you would want to harvest. And from that date, you look on your seed packet and you figure out how long your seeds will take to grow. So here it says 45 to 50 days to maturity. So you would subtract 50 days from your last frost date. You can also add a couple days in here because it's fall. Sometimes they grow a little bit slower. So to review, you have your last frost date, you add about 10 days. That puts us in early November, and then you would subtract 50-ish days from that date in early November to figure out when you want to plant. That's something you can do for each individual seed. You can also plant most things in mid-September here, except for garlic and onions. Those overwinter, so you'll want to plant them in mid to late October. So if you want to transplant a seed that's already started growing into your garden, we are going to show you how to do that. So we have our soil, it's amended with compost, and also it's already moist. It's good to water before you transplant and to water your seedlings before you transplant them. You're going to dig a hole that's about 1.5 times the size of the soil that you're putting into the ground. So you get in here, and you can check your seed packet again or look it up online to figure out the spacing. You want to make sure that it has enough room to grow. Gotten in there, made a hole for it, and then you want to push it out from the bottom so that you don't disturb the root structure too much. So just pop it out. This one's okay. If it's a little bit more root bound than this, you can very gently loosen the roots at the bottom. So just free them up. Then you put it down in the soil and push the soil on top. You don't need it to be too deep. You want the soil just to come up to what we call its true leaves, which are these tiny little leaves there on the bottom of the plant. Push the soil in, give it a little hug, and you're done. All you gotta do is water it. So you can also use this time right before you transplant to make sure there aren't any pests or bugs on your leaves. So you can just take a look, usually on the underside, and if you find a caterpillar or anything else, just brush it off gently before you put it into your garden. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave your comments on this video or feel free to email us at beardsleyfarm@gmail.com. Happy planting!